Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the sports betting show hosted by a real statistics professor. Major League Baseball, October 1st, wild card game 1 playoff edition. Cousin Jared, we've made it to October.
We have made it to October, and for me, at least, the time of year where the sphincter tightens a little bit when it comes to baseball. With every pitch, it is just, and I know people would say playoff hockey is different. I agree. Playoff hockey is just a whole nother thing. But man, like going from the regular season where you can, in your mind, rationalize it's just one pitch out of hundreds and hundreds of thousands over the course of the season. And here it's like, oh my gosh, every one of these matters. So yeah, definitely a different vibe once the calendar turns to October.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. And it's interesting because the game in the regular season has turned into a little bit more like playoffs in that now every pitch, everyone's told throw as hard as you can.
Yeah.
Right. And that used to not be the case, but there's still something, like you said, a little different. It's not quite the same. They are still holding a little bit back, right? Because they do know it's a long season. So it's a little bit more like playoffs today than it would have been 10, 20, especially 30 years ago when guys were just 80% for most of the game, and that allowed them to throw 120 pitches and not have arm issues. Than today's game where it's, hey, we've got all these flamethrowing relievers, let's just go all out. But again, it's not quite the same all out that we're about to see. And we see that especially with bullpens start getting really burnt out this time of year. The team who ends up winning the World Series is often the team whose bullpen can hold up. And that's not really predictable. There's no real signs that tell us how that plays out. We're Astros fans. We've seen the Astros bullpen hold up really well a couple of years ago, and the Phillies bullpen was what blew it. Specifically, I'm thinking about the Game 6 home run that Jordan hit that turned, I think, a 1-0 Phillies lead into a 3-1 Astros lead, and it was ballgame at that point. And we've seen the bullpen hold up really well back in 2017 for different reasons when they started using some starters in like long relief roles. Morton and McCullers were going 4 innings out of the pen. So sometimes teams have to get creative. And in that year, the Dodgers bullpen got really overworked, having to throw too many pitches by the end. And so, and we've of course seen our own bullpen flame out. And I think that's our fear as Astros fans this year, is the bullpen's been used so much this season. But it's just how much those guys have left. Because like you said, every pitch is as hard as possible. And these guys will be asked to throw a lot of pitches here over the next month. We still stuck green for the season here. Since we changed our grade classification, we just did grades a little bit differently. So I can't really include those from that first month of the season. But since that first month, things have gone pretty well. We were fine in September. We were breaking even in September. We had a fine Sunday. We won both our picks yesterday. That was good. And the game 1 of the doubleheader wasn't touching game 2. Those prices in that situation. But and Sunday was fine. Saturday, I think, was okay. Thursday, Friday was terrible. Sometimes you have that, but again, in the long run, we're still, as we're always saying, making more when we win than we lose when we lose. If you're not with us over in college football, you're missing out. If you're not with us on NFL, you're missing out as well. That had another profitable week. Here's our college football slide. If you're not with us over there, of course, a lot of reasons from last year and this year to be with us for the college football shows. Otherwise, though, you can get all the picks. College basketball coming up soon on Dub Club. You've seen this sort of slide before, people. We also have a baseball-only package. It is an annual package only right now, so we're working with what to do with that, just kind of dropping the seed in your brain, people. If you're only a baseball person, you don't really care about betting on fall sports, whether that be football and or college basketball that we do here, that baseball-only package is something to keep your eye on, keep in your mind that we'll be offering that for next year. And we've got a couple specials here if you are interested in signing up for all the picks, all the college football, all the NFL, and again, soon college basketball. If you want all the picks, you can use the promo code ALL30 for the All Access Honor Roll package. Get your first month for only $9.99. If you want just the top plays, 2, 3 on a Saturday, maybe 5, 6 plays a day. So just a handful of plays, not a lot of frills, bells, and whistles. You can get your first month for only $1.99. Some quick reminders: player-based model, ratings reflect the current roster. Average grades 100, higher implies more runs. Batters want to be higher, pitchers want to be lower. We are projecting an average game. 55% winners will lose 9 out of 20 times. So we're always saying we know we're going to have a bunch of losses, but we're going to win more when we win than we lose when we lose. He thinks you can bet at the right price or number. We'll talk about that specifically here, what some prices we're looking for today. Model gives A, B, or C, love, like, or lean. Let's get to it. Cousin Jared, we're going to start off with the 2:30 Eastern game. Our Houston Astros will host the Detroit Tigers. I'm thrilled we're playing the Tigers. As a fan, not that the Tigers are bad. Tariq Skubal is incredible. Number 2 starting pitcher in baseball, according to Sideline. I just didn't want to face the Royals because even though the Royals don't have a pitcher like Skubal, they have three really good pitchers in Reagan, Waka. And Singer. And then you got a guy like Waka out of the pen if you need someone who's probably as good as even the second best Tiger starter. So the Tigers are incredibly in the playoffs. At some point right after the All-Star break, they had less than a 1% chance they were left for dead out of it. Talking about AJ Hinch always gets his team to fight hard in September. We backed the Tigers a lot in September. And then all of a sudden got them to fight so hard they not only made the playoffs, they actually ended up fighting for not the last wild card spot. They didn't quite get there, but they almost nabbed the second wild card spot rather than the third one. And if it wouldn't have been for the Guardians, had a shot at it. The Guardians kind of ran away with it at the end. Tariq Skubal, nothing more needs to be said about him. He's incredible. Framber Valdez quietly, I think, put together a very good year. Early on was a little bit ups and downs, but just kind of quietly going about his business the back half of the year. Number 6 active starting pitcher. There are some pitchers hurt who would grade out better than him, and some pitchers like a Jacob deGrom who would grade out lower than him, but hasn't pitched in so long. Whatnot. So not to say he's necessarily the 6th best pitcher right now in baseball overall, but of all active pitchers, still pretty good. Relievers, both just okay for both teams. Offensively, the Astros have an edge. The Astros are home. The Astros should be slight favorites. They are. Because we have no official pick on this game, and the reason why is we have quad B picks. We have a B pick on the full game, the first 5, the side, and the first 5, the full game side and the first 5 side. So no official pick, 4 B grades. If you want those leans, all of those are available to you on Dub Club. Because in general, what I want to ask you, of those 4 leans, which one is leaning you enough that it might tip you over?
I definitely would take the Tigers at plus odds. You could convince me full game or first 5 is better. Of course, with first 5 there, you assume probably Skubal for a majority of those innings, which
I would say all 5.
Yeah. And so you definitely,
if you don't, something went terribly wrong and you've lost anyway.
Yes. And so that kind of appeals to me. Like normally, I would go with the full game here.
Right now, the full game price is about 20 cents higher. So right now, I think what you're saying is the full game, 20 extra cents, but it's also like...
Yeah, then you get the bullpen involved. You don't have Skubal for that entire time. So either way, you could convince me. Me personally, I would probably go full game because I just, still have questions about the Astros bullpen. Don't always feel 100% confident about that. Hader... He's been used so much this year, and I look for that to continue. It's just there's only so many bullets in the chamber at some point. You would think, but so I would just lean towards full game, but definitely with Skubal going, you could talk me into first 5 back in the Tigers as well. I just can't pass up the plus odds. That's really what it comes down to. If the Astros are plus odds, I'd be taking them. But playoff baseball like this, close tight games, low scoring game like this one, just give me the plus odds.
And, you say Skubal, you wouldn't have him for the whole game. I mean, he could throw a complete game. Like, I don't want to put that past him. The Astros offense also very inconsistent. As Astros fans, we've seen this, really firsthand. Yeah. I tend to spend my time watching other teams a lot as well. And so I don't just watch the Astros. I hear it from my dad who watches just the Astros. But their offense has had stretches where they've looked unstoppable, and they've had stretches where they don't look like a playoff offense at all. The bullpen's been the same way. Yeah. It's been just all over the map for them. You just never know what you're going to get. I think that plus odds part, I think that's appealing because you just never know what you're going to get. And if the Astros show up and look great, they'll win the first 2 games, boom, and it won't matter. But they could easily fall in a hole here 0-1, and then the Astros would still be in decent shape given the starting pitching edge they would have in games 2 and 3. But this is the tough one right here. This is the one that the Tigers have to win. They cannot blow this one if they have any hopes of advancing in this series. Unlike you, the plus odds appeal. What I'm a little bitter about personally is that the first 5 price has dropped so much. Yesterday evening, when I sent the projections out to everybody on Dub Club, I said, hey, y'all might want to look at the Tigers' first 5. I believe it was plus 130. I believe it was 20 cents higher than the current price right now. And that actually was an A grade at that price. It might have even only been plus 120. The A grade threshold for the first 5 is plus 118. So if you can find a plus 120 for the first 5, that gets you into the A grade. For the full game, the threshold is plus 138. So right now, looking at plus 130, plus 110 for the full on the first 5, you're 8 cents away. So really needing another dime to get to the A grade on both of those. Always, though, folks, shop around. And the reason I say shop around, too, is every book will have a little bit of a different split between that first 5 and the full game. They don't always do it the same. And so if you can find that extra 5 cents, that 10 cents that you need to get to an A grade, first 5 or full game could be appealing on the plus odds in the Tigers. If you don't have an account with them yet, BetUS is a great book to add to your repertoire.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
2 other aces in the other afternoon game, 4 p.m. Eastern, Cole Reagans and Corbin Burns. 2 aces who not quite as good as Skubal and Fromber with regards to their overall long season consistency. Both of these guys had some stretches where they looked a little bit more hittable, but both these guys have had long stretches, either of their short or longer careers, where they have been top 5 probably in any current form pitchers. Both these guys can just light it up. The Royals bullpen so much improved from last year. We talked about it all season. The biggest improvement for the Royals and why they got good this year had nothing to do with the offense. The offense is really Bobby Witt is the only great hitter they've got. Other than that, it's just not a lot. There's a couple other decent hitters. Witt's incredible, but that's really it. It's the pitching has been so good. The starting pitching, the bullpen's been improved, and that's what's carried them here. The Orioles do it a little bit more with offense than anything else. Their bullpen is just okay. Obviously, they'd love to have Bautista healthy. He'll be back next year after missing about a full 365 days at this point. They brought in Kimbrel to try to replace him. A, you can't replace Felix Bautista. B, you can't replace him with Craig Kimbrel.
In the year of our Lord 2024.
Yeah, and that experiment is, if you're an Orioles fan, thankfully over for you probably. Yeah. We've got the Orioles, decent sized favorites here as they should be. Instead, do you have an official pick? A grade play on the under 7. -123. I'm not playing this under 6.5. The 7 matters. It's got a little bit of juice on it. So again, shop around, folks. Make sure you have multiple books to find a 7. It's -123 right now. -125 is okay. -120 is even better. -130, maybe. I would not play it higher than that. You can obviously create the 7 if your books don't offer that, just like you can create a -1 by betting on both the under 7.5 and the under 6.5. You bet to win something on the 7.5, and you risk that on the 6.5. So you can kind of create that. Just be thinking about the overall. Take what you would do, map that out, get the calculator out, and then calculate the odds. Make sure you're in that -120, -125, maybe up to -130. Price tag for it. But these 2 aces, if both of them are on, this game's 2-0.
Yeah.
If one of them is on, this game's 5-1. And so we get a lot of ways this goes under 7. The push protection on 7 is extremely valuable because if both of these guys are just decent and or the bullpen slip a little bit, I could easily see this game being 3-3. And then we're like, hey, we've got a shot here to still push as opposed to 3-3, meaning we've lost. Because, Jared, what's your take on this one?
My take is this is why Sideline has the weather information, because it's been a few years since we have had playoff baseball in Kansas City, and we love to come on here Baltimore, excuse me. Okay, well, yeah, forget everything that I was about to say then. Completely disregard that. But yeah, this is why we have the weather information. The park factor, the adjustment is coming down, so we're saying that the weather is less conducive for runs, and of course with that pitching matchup. Anyway, with Reagans and Burns, I think there's not going to be that many runs anyway. And I think that the weather is just the cherry on top here. I'm like you. It's it's rare that Sideline gives a projection of something like 6.4. And so the fact that we can get under 7, even at those odds that you talked about, I'm all for.
Yeah, slight breeze in from around center field, around 5 miles an hour. Temperatures in the upper 60s is going to make this play a little bit more pitcher friendly than usual. And we've seen Baltimore play a little bit more pitcher friendly than usual in the last couple of seasons since they've made that left field a lot deeper. With a slight breeze coming in from center, some right center breeze coming in, that's going to make it play a little bit deeper for lefties, and it already plays deep for righties. So it's kind of like whichever way you go, it's going to play a little bit tougher for you to hit the ball out of the park. The thing that I want to say about park factors, weather factors, et cetera, is, weather only matters so much in that if you're giving up line drives, if it was me out there getting crushed, right, or I'm nibbling and I'm walking guys, right, that's not, the weather's not going to matter. right? And where the weather matters more so, where the park factor matters more so, other than your situations with an extreme doubles park like, say, Fenway or Kauffman, is the fact that it can lead to a lot of home runs or not many home runs, because so many times it's hard to get 3 singles in an inning. It's easier to get 1 home run. And so the thing that I like about this specifically is these pitchers are not guys likely to give up a lot of walks than a lot of singles, right? If these guys get hit around, it's oftentimes because a blue pit and then a home run. Well, we're in a situation where the home runs aren't going to be likely to happen. That's going to also suppress runs. So it's kind of an extra added wrinkle that I like here. You flip this game and you put it in Kauffman, especially on a day in Kauffman where the weather's more favorable to the hitting. It's an extreme doubles park with no foul territory almost whatsoever, kind of like Fenway is. And in that situation, you give up the blue pit, then it's harder to get outs because there's no foul territory. You give up the double, and then all of a sudden it's a hot day, the wind's blowing up, boom, you give up a homer. And these really great pitchers can give up 3 runs in a hurry.
Right.
And it's not that can't happen here, but it's a whole lot less likely to get runs in bunches, and that's what we like with unders. Of note, of course, the model and the grades for the pitchers are all park independent type stuff, and so Reagan's grade is not affected by the fact that he plays in a more hitter friendly ballpark. 2 really good pitchers, slightly pitcher friendly weather, decent enough bullpens. We're going to go under, and this one under 7 again, not under 6.5. Mets and the Brewers, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, a game where we expect the roof to be closed a little bit on the chilly side in Milwaukee. If they open it up, this is a game that might end up with a slightly fewer expected number of runs than what you're seeing on the screen there. The books are hanging 7.5 right now. We would expect a little bit less if they open the roof, because it's going to be a little bit on the chilly side there in Milwaukee, and that would deflate the possibility of home runs. Luis Severino and Freddie Peralta. Now we're getting back into more mediocre pitching here for this one. So all the aces we're going to see in the afternoon. I know what we've heard, the narrative about the Mets struggling with the Brewers. The Mets really struggled with the Brewers in a couple of games. The Brewers did not need to win on Friday and Saturday before finally getting a win on Sunday in order to keep their playoff hopes alive. They really were going to be up against it if they had lost Sunday and needed to win both of them against the Braves there on Monday. But they could have taken care of business and gotten more wins, and it not mattered. So I know that's on everyone's mind. I think that's why there's value on the Mets here. We're going to take the Mets first 5. You can go with the run line or the money line. Both of them offer decent enough edges. In the event they open up the roof, the run line makes a lot more sense. Our official pick, just based off how I've coded it, is the run line plus a half a run at -130. On the money line, it's plus 115. Those are pretty similar. Both offer some similar value. You can even split your wager, play a little Asian handicap if you want. That's what that would be right here, the difference between the 0 and the plus half, if you bet any soccer on the regular. But whether it's a first 5 run line or a money line, we think there's some value on the Mets here. I don't want to get into the Mets bullpen whatsoever personally. If you saw yesterday, Diaz went 2 innings, a ton of pitches after going 20 some odd pitches the day before. They've really burned through that bullpen here these last couple of days. I don't want any part of the bullpen. The full game has some value if you look at the model, but that bullpen, I want to be done with it. I just want to focus on Severino, first 5 Mets. Cousin Jared.
Yeah, you took my words exactly there. After the Mets playing that doubleheader yesterday, and even though they won the first game and clinched, you still got to have guys that you're throwing out there. You're running through, we talked about the bullets in the chamber. You're still running through them, and I don't want any part.
And that first game was almost like 2 games itself with how crazy that was.
Yeah, all those runs in that one, and both teams having to do everything they possibly could to win the game. So yeah, I want nothing to do with the bullpens either. I feel like the first 5 is really the only thing that you can focus on here and feel like you have any reasonable idea of what the Mets strategy is going to be from a pitching perspective. And so I would almost say it would be very tough to handicap. The back half of the game is where I'm going with that. So I'm with you. I think Mets first 5. I do not ever have to be swayed to get a half run in a game. So me personally, I like the run line better here. And then to your point, if they opened up the roof, even better. But I want to take the half run. That way, if we're tied after 5, I can still get the win. I'm willing to pay the premium to get that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it makes a little bit more sense because I think the roof could be open. It's really right on the border of what they would do with it. I have not heard officially. That information might already be out there. But again, if you like a little bit more of a payoff, you could take the money line. You would just push in the event of a tie. But I'm like you, I like taking that plus half as well. So we're on the Mets first 5 in that one. And then wrapping us up, Braves and the Padres. Because Jared, we were talking about this before the show aired. Before we came on here, and I'm looking at everything I can find. As of right now, I have no idea who's going to pitch. I know the books are listing Max Fried. Here's what I'm going to outline for people, at least the way I understand it. I could be wrong. I'm not right on everything, people. So if I'm wrong, I apologize. But the way I think it's working out is that they either need to use Bryce Elder or they need to start using people on short rest. If they go with Fried today on short rest, they could go with Elder in game 2 and Lopez on normal rest in game 3. Or you could just go with Elder today and let Fried go on normal rest tomorrow. It doesn't really matter because you're going to get those 2 games anyway. Or you could go Fried on short rest today, Lopez on short rest in game 2, and then you've got to go Elder game 3, or Morton on short rest. So it's kind of one of these, you got to pay the piper at some point. And I don't know when that's going to come, but they're either going to have to use Elder or they're going to have to use potentially 3 guys on short rest. There is a penalty for short rest. It doesn't always work out. There are situations where guys on short rest have pitched really well, but on average, you do take a hit for pitching on short rest. So I don't know what their plan is. The Sale situation hurt. The doubleheader situation, of course, hurt. That was a double whammy. Had only one of those happened, they would be fine here and they could make things work. But as it is, their initial plan, I believe, of Holmes in game 1, Fried in game 2, Lopez in game 3, everybody on normal rest, has kind of fallen by the wayside. And or once Sale was scratched, if he could have then pitched today, but the back spasms, it sounds like you mentioned this, traveling across the country on a plane, maybe not ideal for that. And he's supposedly not even going to pitch here in the wild card round. Because, Jared, we're speculating at this point. So for right now, we're going to speculate as if it's Fried on short rest. Why is that? Because the books are listing him. If you were with us on Dub Club and it turns out to be Elder, we will immediately send out, as fast as I can, a projection on that. And maybe we'll have an official pick on it. Maybe. We'll see exactly how the line moves. You could, viewer, decide to bet this action as if it's Elder and bet on some form of an over or the Padres. You have that as an option. We're not going to discuss any of that. There are a lot of things that are going to happen with this. This is some good discussion, in my opinion, here. The question for you, Cousin Jared, if it is Fried on short rest, we're in the same situation as we were in game 1. Quad Bs. We're leaning under, we're leaning Braves between all of the options. If there was one that you had to pick, and again, we're assuming it's Fried on short rest. If you're going to bet anything like this, especially if it's an under or a Braves, make sure you do it as listed. Make sure you do it as at a sharper book that is going to do that as listed. Those sharper books that I know of would be something like Bet Online, something like Circa, something like Pinnacle. I know a lot of our American customers are not able to play at Pinnacle. But if we are playing this with Fried, where is your head?
If we're playing it with Fried, I would probably go I would limit it to the first 5, kind of like what we talked about in the Mets game. I don't want to have anything to do with the back half of
their bullpen's a little wore out too.
yeah. And so I think if it were Fried, I would probably take the Braves on the run line first 5. Man,
right now that's minus 110.
Yeah, 3.5 is low. 3.5 is low, especially if Fried is starting on short rest. It's just something that makes me a
the
little
Padres have scored some runs here in the back half of the season as they've played really well, finally turning into the team that we thought they might be for quite some time now.
Well, and even with this game being in San Diego, you talked about San Diego's offense playing better, but again, just going back to how are the Braves going to manage all of this pitching? I mean, it could be a situation where the Padres win this game 8-1 or something like that. They get out to a big lead early, and then the Braves are just throwing guys out there to, we might have a position player pitching or something crazy. Like, I don't know.
That would be something.
Yeah. So
I don't think we've ever seen that in the playoff. If we have, I've not seen it in a playoff game. But it's very possible. Like
I'm sure it hasn't happened, but very unique circumstances. Very unique circumstances here with them playing the doubleheader the day before. So I think I would take the Braves run line in first 5. That's kind of the thing that gives me the least consternation, I think.
So it sounds like then too what I'm hearing in the situation that it turns into Elder, if you want to try to get out ahead of it, maybe dabbling on the Pirates on an action bet right now and the Padres right now and just saying,
Yeah.
If it turns into Elder,
Yeah.
that's even better because the price is going to move a little bit. There's just a lot of question marks here. The home field advantage is one of the largest I've ever seen for this game because we rarely ever see a team traveling from cross country while the team before it has a bye. And then you add in the fact that they were able to rest all their players. This is one of the largest home field edges we've ever seen given to the Padres. And unfortunately for us, that's baked into the books. Otherwise, I'd love to take advantage of that. But the the Brewers home field advantage is fairly large because the same situation with the Mets. The difference is the Mets travel from Atlanta to Milwaukee. That's a decent trip. Obviously, there's some Braves joke in there somewhere. But going from Atlanta to San Diego is really a whole nother ball game with regards to the time zones and everything like that. It's just the extra wear and tear on the body for that flight. And so it's going to be an interesting one. We might have some weird shenanigans because, like you said, if the Mets or the Braves get down early, or in the middle of the game, and they just decide there's no way we can win this game, you've got to pack it up and say, all right, we're going to have to go everything we can for games 2 and 3 now. And so there's a lot of weird things that could happen. So no official pick from us. If it stays as free, maybe a Braves run line, first 5, maybe hopefully they can keep it tight. If not, maybe a Padres. If you're really speculating, they'll go with Elder. Like I said, from right now, everything I can see, it's very up in the air. We haven't heard anything official as of now. Keep up to date with the news. If I hear anything, we'll talk about it on Discord for everybody with us over on Dub Club. And if it does turn into Elder, we'll get you out new projections. Again, those are the specials right there. $9.99 for your first month for the honor roll. That's as good of a deal as we've really ever offered you, I think, for your first month. And then the top place package, first month for $1.99, folks. Come on, there's no reason not to at least check that out and get a few extra good picks than what we offer here on the show. But either way, we do appreciate you watching. Cousin Jared, do you have any parting words for the viewer here as we start into playoff baseball?
Just try to become, because the games will not become. The games will bring great anxiety. So just try to relax most of the day before you get the baseball games on.
There you go. All right. Well, again, we thank you for watching. We do wish you the best of luck and remind you that you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.